Joining us now from Washington, D.C. is the US political analyst John Christopher Boer, and in London is the political commentator and Republican Party supporter Charlie Wolf. John Christopher, tell me, what's the reaction been to this Wisconsin result?
By the way, great package, I will say, great lead-in. I think that Sir Donald the Lionhearted has been jousted off his horse last night, and he has to climb back on his trusty steed, put on his full armor, and ride back to the Empire State, where he's from, and see if he can rescue himself from a rather dastardly defeat last night by Ted Cruz, who remarkably is even more conservative than Donald Trump, but maybe less of a blabbermouth, as we say here in Washington, or I should say in my hometown of New York City.
But why did Cruz win so well last night?
Because Trump has done everything in his power to knock himself off. The only person who can KO Donald Trump is Donald Trump, and he's doing a magnificent job. He is arrogant, he's boastful, he really doesn't know the issues, and frankly, being at the White House most days, I can tell you that the president is talking to leaders of the world, and the NATO Secretary General was there on Monday, and President Obama is literally having to tell these folks that don't worry, everything will be fine, Trump won't get elected, because there's real concern. Donald Trump would like to take the U.S. out of NATO. He would like to, as he said, not take nuclear weapons off the table in Europe, and he's saying some rather inflammatory things. And Ted Cruz is playing it kind of low key, although he's bit of a radical himself, and he's taking advantage of it. And he walked in the front door in Wisconsin, and he may do well in New York State, although Kasich is actually in second place in the polls in New York State behind Donald Trump. So it's going to be a very interesting race in the Empire State.
Charlie, how has Donald Trump reacted to the Wisconsin result?
Oh, I'm sure he's figured it's really, well, actually, he believes it's Ted Cruz's fault. That, Lion Ted has been in cahoots with the PACs, the PAC committees. Yeah, I agree totally with John Christopher. He's his own worst enemy. But then again, remember, it doesn't matter how big the lead is or how close it is or who has what. It's that magic number of 1237. Now, if Trump gets to 1237, he's the nominee. It's the end of the story. If Cruz gets there, which is harder to do, end of the story. What they're trying to do is take away enough votes to make it harder and harder for Trump to hit 1237. If that's the case, it becomes a contested convention. And that means that the delegates on the first round have to vote for the person they were nominated to vote for, be it Trump or whomever. Then they go into more votes.
Do you think that's where we're heading? Do you think we're heading to that contested convention?
Well, it's interesting. Even before Wisconsin yesterday, before the results were known, there was a meeting with the RNC and about 15 major conservative Republican operatives going over different procedures of what would happen, making sure there's enough time if they have to take multiple votes. I'd like to know, maybe JC would know this better than I. Normally when they have the roll call of the votes, that's when you see them all standing there and going, the great state, Mr. Chairman, the great state of New Jersey, the home of whatever.
Charlie, you're getting nostalgic, Charlie. You're getting nostalgic. You should come back here and be in Cleveland with us.
They're going to have to go through that like 15, 20 times.
JC, is there a real threat to Trump being the candidate?
Yes. There's a threat to Trump being the candidate. The Republican elite, as they're called, many Republicans breathed a sigh of hope last night thinking, gee, maybe Trump will not get it on the first ballot, and we could bring in someone else, like Paul Ryan, or Charlie could come back, and they may give him, Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln won a contested convention in Chicago in 1860. So figure that. William Seward lost against Abe Lincoln, who wasn't even considered a viable candidate. So, the sky's the limit. Cleveland will be absolutely crazy. You should get everybody over there from Scottish TV because it's going to be a rip-roarer. Yeah. I can guarantee that.
One thing Charlie. I can tell you, I was talking to an insider this morning who said if it's not one of those three, Kasich, Cruz, or Trump, 1,500 delegates will walk out. So they're not going to nominate Ryan. They're not going to nominate myself or JC. It has to be one of those three.
And if that happened, Charlie, would Trump stand as an independent, do you think?
It's possible. I could see him having the ego to do it. The ego and the money. Of course he would.
JC.
He's the kind of kid. I grew up in Queens, very close to Trump. He's the kind of kid, if he didn't like the way the ball game was going, he'd take his ball off the court or his football off the field and say, the heck with you, I'm leaving. And if he does that in Cleveland, you can bet those people will go with him, and there will be one heck of a time.
Yeah.
And the RNC and the Republicans will be very, very upset. I'm sure Charlie agrees with me on that one.
Oh, I agree. Not only would he take the ball, he'd buy the team. But I'd like to know, your opinion, what's going to happen with Hillary? Is she going to get indicted or not?
Well, that's what I was going to move on to that. Who should she be most afraid of as
Charlie,
an opponent here? Is it Sanders? Is it Cruz? Is it Trump? JC, who should Hillary Clinton be most afraid of?
What's going to happen? Is she going to be indicted, JC?
I think the happiest person alive in America right now, I'm avoiding the question, the most happy person in America right now is Bernie Sanders. He has to be feeling like he's the cat that ate the canary. He's having a great time. He's a New Yorker. He's from Brooklyn. And there's a lot of people who would be very excited about Trump because there's a lot of young people. There's a lot of people who don't particularly like Hillary because of the way she's been making lots of money hand over fist. And
but realistically, JC, he's not going to get the nomination, is he? He's not going to be Hillary Clinton for the nomination, is he?
Unless
it's all up to the millennials. The millennials hold the key. If the millennials get out and vote for Bernie, and they love Grandpa Bernie, he offers them a revolution in their own time. He's a baby boomer, and he can say, you too can be part of your country's future, and they are really, really eating that up. And Hillary, some of it is lost on Hillary because they don't really know who she is. It's the youth vote. Just like in the UK and in Great Britain and in Scotland, the youth, the millennials really, really hold the key in all our elections coming up, including
guys, we're going to have to stop it there, but we'll be coming back to you long before we work out who the candidates really are going to be. Thank you for joining me.